CSS Basics. In the last video in the CSS introduction, we kind of talked a little bit about CSS and what it is. CSS basically separates your style from your HTML. Back in the earlier days, when HTML first came out, it wasn't made to create visually appealing websites, but later on when it became more popular, people were trying to insert CSS into the HTML itself. And so the W3C decided, well, this is messing up our code, it's not rendering properly in all web browsers, so why don't we separate it out and make CSS separate from HTML? So that's what they did. In this video I'm going to be showing you the syntax for CSS. It is a little bit different than HTML, so actually a prerequisite to these videos would be to watch my HTML videos. But it is very simple. It only consists of three parts, which makes it extremely simple. It consists of a selector, a property, and a value, and I'm going to be showing you those here in a minute. Then later on I'm going to be going into the ways that you can implement CSS. You can implement CSS internally in your HTML page itself. You can implement CSS externally in an external style sheet. And a way that I don't recommend, but I'm going to show you how you can do it anyways, because you may be able to use it just here and there if you just need to simply style something really quick, would be to do an inline style, which is found inside the HTML itself. So to start off, go ahead and open up Notepad++ or whichever text editor that you're using, and we're going to create our very first CSS page. So once you get a new document open, go ahead and save this document, save as, and I'm going to save mine to my desktop here. And in Notepad++, make sure that your save as type is CSS or cascading style sheets. And I'm going to save mine as style sheet.css, and I already have one here, so I'm just going to be overwriting this file. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to replace mine. And once you get that started, just go ahead and drop down a few lines here, and let's get going. So the syntax for CSS, which I said, contains a selector, a property, and a value. So we're going to type in selector here. And after our selector, you need to place a curly bracket. And this is where the property and the value go. And then we're going to place a closing curly bracket. This is what your CSS page is going to look like. Just a bunch of different selectors with different properties and values. Now each selector can have multiple properties, and the way you can separate these properties out is on the next line here. Just type in another property and a value, and you separate them out by the semicolon. That's when you know that your property and value have ended, is when the semicolon is there. Now if you, on the last property and value, you don't actually need to have the semicolon. It'll still work without it because there's nothing else to come. But for future, when you want to go back and insert more styles into this selector, it's just a good idea to place that there anyways, so that way you can just get started and put more properties in there quickly. Each property can have multiple values, and they're separated. The value and the property are separated by a colon. So don't get this confused with a semicolon here. The property is separated by a colon, which then equals a value, and then when it's complete it has a semicolon. And multiple values are separated by commas. So if you wanted to place another value in here, you would just place a comma in there, another comma, and so forth. And if your individual value contains more than one word, you want to surround it with quotation marks. So if it has more than one word in here, surround with quotation marks. And that way you know that that is inside, your value is inside the quotation marks there. So let's get started with the first style sheet I'm going to be showing you, which is an internal style sheet. Let's go ahead and open up a new document here, and we're going to save this as an HTML file. So go ahead and find your hypertext markup language, and we're going to save it as site.htm. And let's go ahead and place in our head tag here, actually our HTML tag, and our closing HTML tag. And inside here we'll place our head tag with our closing head tag and our body tag. And if you don't know what I'm doing here in HTML, just remember, prerequisite is to learn HTML first and then go into CSS. So in order to create an inline style sheet here, let me open up the body tag and open up the head tag. If you recall, in HTML there wasn't really much going on inside the head tag. We placed our title tag in there. I showed you a couple of meta tags. But an important thing to know that in the head tag is where you're going to be placing your CSS. You can place your link to an external CSS style sheet, or you can actually place the CSS in here itself. And in order to do internal CSS style sheet, which is inside the HTML document but located in the head portion of your document, therefore it's not visible on the screen, you would need to let the browser know that you're going to be using a style and your style is CSS. So you're going to put in a style tag here. And the style tag has to have an attribute of a type, and the type you're going for is text CSS, is what you're placing in there. And then you're going to close out your style tag. And all of your CSS content will go here. Okay? So let's get started. Let's go ahead and go inside our body tag here, and we're going to put in a paragraph. And we're going to style this paragraph is red. And then we'll close out our paragraph here. And we want to style this paragraph. And the selector portion of your CSS is what you're styling. And in this case, we're styling the P tag. So all we're going to do for our selector is place a P. And we're going to have an open curly bracket. And then we're going to start to style this. And the property is we want to style the color. So therefore, we're just going to place color. And I'm going to use a hexadecimal code of F00 and a semicolon. And then we're going to close it with a closing curly bracket. Now if I went ahead and saved this document, hit run in a browser, and drag it over here, you can see now that our paragraph is in fact red. We've done so by grabbing our selector here, which is the P tag, and inside of the curly brackets we've given it a color of a hexadecimal color here. Now if I drop down and I went to font dash size colon, let's do 24px semicolon. Go ahead and save this, refresh your browser, and as you can see, our paragraph now has grown. So as you can see, we can place multiple properties and values inside here to style this paragraph. And you can continue on and continue on as many as you want in order to style this paragraph here. Now that's the internal CSS style sheet. Let's say we wanted to call a CSS style sheet that is external. An external CSS style sheet is exactly what it means. It is not inside the page, it is external, and we're going to call the external style sheet with just one line of code here. And to do that, we need to create a link tag here. So I'm going to copy all this, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to paste all this into our CSS style sheet here and save that. Then I'm going to delete it here, and as you can see, if I save the HTML document, go back to our browser and refresh, the paragraph is now not styled. It is back to its original form. But let's go ahead and call this stylesheet.css. So we need to create a link tag that is relative to a style sheet. The type of this style sheet is text CSS, which needs to be in quotations. And we need to use the ref attribute to find our style sheet, which is style sheet.css, and then we're going to close this out. Now what we've just done is linked our HTML page to this style sheet here, just with this line of code that goes inside of the head tag. So if I went ahead and saved this document, refresh in the browser, you can see now that even though the CSS is not inside of the page itself, the HTML page, it is still styled in 24 pixel size and in red, because we have got this style sheet over here which is saying, hey, our p tag needs to have this color and this font size, and in the HTML we are grabbing that style sheet with this link tag here. And finally, the inline style, which again I do not recommend, but I'm going to show it to you anyways. Go ahead and save this document, refresh, and put our paragraph back to its original form. Is inside the paragraph tag, we're going to use an attribute of style. And this attribute is going to equal color of pound F0000 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to do a semicolon, and then the quotation, and we're going to hit save, refresh in our browser, and now our paragraph is red. Now we can also, after the semicolon here, hit a space, and we're going to do font size, and it's going to have a colon, and we're going to do 24px, semicolon. And I'm going to save this again, and I'm going to hit refresh, and you can see that our paragraph is now styled just like all the other styles, but it is inside the HTML. Now you can only imagine that if you were using the inline style and you were adding a whole bunch of different properties and values to this paragraph tag, it can get quite lengthy, and your code would really be hard to read. And that's why they needed to take this out of here and place it either up in the head tag or in an external style sheet.